The $37 billion lie we keep telling ourselves about Black women and work welcome to soft girl era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I had the extraordinary privilege of sitting down with Tamara Harvey, a visionary advocate whose work is reshaping how we understand economic equity, representation, and the power of Black women in the workforce. Tamara Harvey is not just observing the world, she is actively transforming it. One conversation, one policy shift, one reclaimed narrative at a time. Her insights challenge us to see beyond the surface, to recognize that when Black women thrive, entire economies flourish, and when they are pushed out, we all lose. She is a force, a truth teller, a bridge builder between what is and what must be. And what she shared with me will change the way you see everything. Let me ask you something. When you hear that Black women are leaving the workforce in record numbers, what's your first thought? Maybe you think it's about personal choice. Maybe you imagine women opting out to pursue passion projects, to rest, to finally prioritize themselves. And sure, that narrative sounds empowering, doesn't it? It fits neatly into the soft girl era ethos of choosing peace over pressure. But here's the truth Tamara Harvey shared with me, and it's a truth that will shake you to your core. This exodus, this mass departure of Black women from the workforce is not a choice, it is a consequence. It is the result of a deliberate systemic rollback of progress, a convergence of policies, economic pressures, and cultural shifts that have actively dismantled the very networks and opportunities Black women fought so hard to build. Let that sink in for a moment. We are not talking about women walking away because they found their soft girl era. We are talking about women being pushed out because the systems that were supposed to support them, the diversity initiatives, the mentorship programs, the inclusive hiring practices are being stripped away. Inflation is crushing them, student debt is suffocating them, federal workforce cuts are targeting them, and the sectors where Black women have historically found stability, education, nonprofit work, public service, are shrinking, collapsing, disappearing beneath their feet. Tamara Harvey helped me see that this is not just a Black women's issue. This is an economic crisis that impacts all of us. When over 300,000 Black women lose their jobs, when their participation in the workforce drops, the entire economy feels it. In fact, the loss of Black women in the workforce has resulted in a $37.2 billion reduction in U.S. GDP. $37.2 billion. That's not just a statistic. That's schools underfunded. That's communities destabilized. That's innovation stifled. That's leadership lost. That's the future we're stealing from ourselves because we refuse to see Black women as essential to our collective survival. And here's where it gets even more unsettling. Despite all the talk about progress, despite all the headlines celebrating women in leadership, Black women remain glaringly underrepresented at the highest levels of corporate America. Right now, today, there are only two Black women serving as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Two out of 500. Let me introduce you to one of them. The Sunda Brown Duckett, CEO of TIAA. The Sunda story is one of resilience, brilliance, and relentless determination. She didn't just walk into that corner office, she fought for it. She navigated a corporate landscape that questioned her capabilities, that underestimated her leadership, that made her prove herself over and over again in ways her white male counterparts never had to. Before becoming CEO of TIAA, Tasunda spent years at JP Morgan Chase, championing financial inclusion and diversity initiatives. She built her career brick by brick, fighting skepticism at every turn. She faced the same barriers so many Black women face: lack of mentorship, underrepresentation, constant scrutiny. But Tasunda leveraged internal sponsorship, built strong professional networks, and advocated fiercely for inclusive talent pipelines within her organization. Her appointment was historic. It was a milestone. It inspired other companies to reevaluate their internal promotion strategies. Under her leadership, TIAA has expanded its impact in financial services and increased its focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Tasunda's visibility and advocacy have amplified conversations about racial equity in corporate leadership, influencing policies far beyond her company. But here's the question we have to ask: why are there only two? Why in 2025 are we still celebrating first and onlys? Why is representation still so rare that when a Black woman becomes a CEO, it makes headlines? Tamara Harvey's insights force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Representation is not just about optics, it's about access, it's about opportunity, it's about dismantling the structural barriers that keep Black women from ascending to the highest levels of leadership. And right now, those barriers are not just standing firm, they are being reinforced, fortified, weaponized. Let me tell you about another powerful force working to change this. Gabrielle Wyatt founded the Highland Project after witnessing something that so many of us feel but struggle to name. She saw that Black women leaders exist in a strange duality: hypervisibility and hyperinvisibility. We are seen when it's convenient, when our presence can be tokenized, when our labor can be extracted. But we are invisible when it comes to recognition, when it comes to advancement, when it comes to having our contributions truly valued. Gabriel created the Highland Project to sustain Black women leaders in communities and institutions. She built an organization that provides leadership development, advocacy training, and strategic networking opportunities tailored specifically to Black women. And the outcomes? Participants reported increased career advancement, stronger community impact, and greater resilience in navigating professional challenges. The Highland Project has supported dozens of Black women in securing executive roles and influencing policy at local and national levels. Gabrielle's work has elevated the profile of Black women leaders and underscored the need for systemic support and recognition. She didn't wait for permission, she didn't ask for approval. She built the infrastructure that Black women needed to thrive. This is what Tamara Harvey means when she talks about rebuilding networks. This is what it looks like to actively create the pathways that the corporate world has refused to pave. Because here's the thing: we cannot rely on the same systems that excluded us to suddenly include us. We have to build our own tables. We have to create our own pathways. We have to support each other in ways that the corporate world has refused to. And speaking of systemic support, let's talk about the NAACP's response to the 2025 employment crisis. Over 300,000 Black women lost jobs due to federal workforce cuts, rollback of DEI commitments, and shrinking nonprofit funding. The NAACP, with its long history of fighting for economic justice and equity, mobilized immediately. They didn't just issue statements, they acted, they highlighted the systemic disinvestment, they called for policy reforms, they provided direct support to affected women through grants and career services. Their efforts raised public awareness, influenced legislative discussions, and helped stabilize the careers of many Black women. Their advocacy contributed to ongoing debates about workforce equity and the future of DEI policies in both public and private sectors. This is organized resistance. This is what it looks like to refuse to accept setbacks as the new normal. This is what it means to fight for the softness, the rest, the peace that Black women deserve, not by asking permission, but by demanding systemic change. Now, I want to bring this back to you, to us, to the women listening who are tired, who are overextended, who have been carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders and are finally ready to put it down. Tamara Harvey's insights are not just about workforce statistics and economic policy, they are about you. They are about the ways systemic inequities show up in your life, in your career, in your ability to rest, to heal, to choose softness without guilt. When DEI programs are dismantled, it's not just a corporate decision. It's a message that says your presence doesn't matter. When mentorship opportunities disappear, it's not just a budget cut, it's a barrier to your advancement. When the sectors where you've built your career start shrinking, it's not just market forces, it's a targeted disinvestment in your future. And here's what Tamara Harvey wants you to know: you are not imagining it. You are not being too sensitive. You are not failing. The system is failing you. And recognizing that is not defeat, it is clarity, it is power. It is the first step toward reclaiming your agency. So, what do? How do we move forward? How do we protect our peace, our softness, our joy in the face of systems that are actively working against us? Rebuilding means investing in organizations like the Highland Project. It means supporting Black women owned businesses. It means mentoring the next generation. It means advocating for policy changes that protect workers, that fund education, that prioritize equity. It means showing up for each other, not just when it's convenient, but when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, when it requires us to challenge the status quo. And rebuilding also means giving yourself permission to rest, to heal, to step into your soft girl era without guilt. Because here's the truth: you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot fight for systemic change if you are running on fumes. You cannot advocate for others if you have not first advocated for yourself. Softness is not weakness. Softness is not giving up. Softness is the radical act of saying, I deserve peace. I deserve joy. I deserve rest, and I will not apologize for claiming it. Tamara Harvey's work reminds us that our individual healing and our collective liberation are not separate, they are intertwined. When you set boundaries, you are modeling what it looks like to value yourself. When you say no without guilt, you are teaching others that your time and energy are precious. When you choose rest, you are resisting a culture that profits from your exhaustion. So here's what I want you to take away from today. First, systemic factors are driving workforce exits. The departure of Black women from the workforce is not about personal choice. It is about intersecting pressures, inflation, student debt, diminished DEI programs, targeted job cuts. Second, representation is at risk. Despite progress, Black women remain underrepresented at the highest levels, and that matters. And third, the economic impact is far reaching. The loss of Black women in the workforce affects all of us, and their participation is crucial for the broader economy. But beyond the statistics, beyond the stories, beyond the policy debates, here's what I really want you to hear: you matter. Your presence matters. Your voice matters. Your rest matters. Your softness matters. And the world needs you, not the version of you that's running on empty, not the version of you that's carrying everyone else's burdens, but the whole, healed, rested, joyful version of you. So here's my challenge to you today: stop waiting for permission to rest. Stop apologizing for setting boundaries. Stop believing the lie that your worth is tied to your productivity. Ask yourself this question, the one Tamara Harvey left me with: how can I, whether as a business leader, an entrepreneur, or a community advocate, actively rebuild the networks, mentorship opportunities, and inclusive policies that Black women need to thrive rather than allowing recent setbacks to become the new status quo? This is not rhetorical. This is urgent. This is the work. Invest in a Black woman owned business this week. Mentor someone who looks like you. Advocate for policy change in your workplace. Show up for each other. Build the tables. Pave the pathways. Refuse the narrative that says we should be grateful for crumbs. And most importantly, Gichisu, give yourself permission to be soft, to rest, to heal, to reclaim your joy, because your liberation is not separate from our collective freedom. It is the foundation of it. The $37 billion lie we've been told is that Black women leaving the workforce is a personal choice. The truth is, it's a systemic failure. And the only way we change that truth is by refusing to accept it. So let's rebuild. Let's resist. Let's rest. Let's reclaim together. Thank you.